If the New York Rangers don't elect to spend big money on a free agent for this offseason or possibly acquire one via trade that has a decent sized cap hit, they have enough room to possibly go out there and acquire a very solid defenseman in free agency. And one player they could and should look to target is Nikita Zadorov. He played this past season on the Calgary Flames, got traded to the Vancouver Canucks, and I think would be a phenomenal addition to this D-core. He is a very good defenseman and truly would provide just another great tough, big defenseman in the lineup for the Rangers, which is definitely a need for this team. He is massive at 6'6", 248 pounds, and he's a very solid, more defensive guy, but has a decent offensive game and just an all-around very solid defenseman. Would be a great addition to this team. And the big question with this team is whether or not they're going to have Zach Jones as more of an everyday defenseman on this New York Rangers team come next season. Now, whether or not they want to do that is kind of affecting whether or not they'd probably sign a guy like Zadorov, who is a top 4 caliber defenseman. I think is very good. Obviously can play in the bottom pair there, but is more of a kind of, second pairing caliber of player. I think would be a great fit on this team, whether it's the third pair, second pair, whatever it is. But the question really is, whether or not this team wants to go out there and get a guy like Zadorov if they have a plan of obviously making Zach Jones an everyday guy. Because it doesn't really make any sense to have a guy like Zadorov who's going to cost a decent amount of money. He's going to get an upgrade on what his contract was this past season. We'll take a look at that later on in this video, my prediction on his next contract. My point is here, you're not going to have a guy like Zadorov who's making a good amount of money there as your 7th man. So if Zach Jones is going to be an everyday guy, you're probably not getting a guy like Zadorov. So would they obviously want to go for more of a kind of a true kind of bottom pairing guy who's going to be making a lot closer to league minimum? I would imagine so. So that's kind of the question there that they definitely have to decide the front office for the Rangers is whether or not Zach Jones is truly going to be an everyday guy or not. He could get traded this offseason at some point. We'll have to wait and see. But Eric Gustafsson is more than likely gone, and Zach Jones could be a pretty seamless replacement for Gustafsson if they want that kind of same kind of type of player, or whether they want to switch things up there and go with a big, tough defenseman who's more defensively reliable and a guy like Nikita Zadorov. So that's the question that's going to have to be answered this offseason. We'll have to wait and see what happens there. But carrying on now, though, and taking a look at what Zadorov would bring to this New York Rangers team if he were to get signed. Right off the bat there, he has phenomenal size. There is not too many players in the NHL that are nearly as good as he is, but also have that kind of size. At 6'6", 248 pounds, he's a monster out there. He is an absolute beast on the ice there. 6'6" is pretty phenomenal there. Not too many guys have his height, so that is definitely a big plus. Also adding him alongside guys like Matt Rempe and Adam Edstrom, who could possibly be more of an everyday kind of NHLer on the 4th line potentially next season. That would be kind of cool to see that. And on the defensive side of things there, you have guys like Trouba, Schneider, Keandre, those guys all have pretty good size there as well. Adding in Zadorov would just kind of add to that size on the back end, which would be a pretty beneficial thing for this team. And then you also have guys like Lindgren and Fox, who obviously aren't very tall, but they have pretty good overall talent there, especially Fox, who is an absolute phenomenal defenseman, one of the best in the entire NHL. Adding Zadorov into that D-core there, I think would be a pretty great addition. He also turned 29 in April, so it's not like he's old by any means. I mean, he's not some 33-year-old guy where he's kind of on the downcline of his career. He's still going to have, 3-4 years left of playing at a very high level, I'd imagine, which is definitely a very good thing if you are signing into possibly a bit of a kind of a mid to longer term deal, which is definitely possible. That wouldn't be too bad there at all. He also is a left-handed shot guy who normally plays on the left side as well, which is kind of the need for this team. Right now, we do kind of have that right side kind of filled out there with Foxy, Trouba, and Schneider. Obviously, right now, there's kind of a hole on that left side with guys like Miller and Lindgren, but then there's kind of one spot open there on the left side, and Zadorov could fill that pretty perfectly. And Zadorov is also a guy who maybe you want to switch up Lindgren and Foxy, see Lindgren go with maybe, Schneider or possibly Trouba, potentially. And then obviously a guy like Zadorov could be a pretty decent fit there alongside a guy like Foxy, potentially. Taking a look now, though, he also is a very tough, physical, and strong defenseman. We'll take a look at the stats in a bit there, but he is definitely a guy who can lay the body, he can fight, he can hit, he can block shots, he can do all that good stuff, which definitely is a very nice thing for this team. Very just tough and overall gritty, physical player, not afraid to fight and stick up for his teammates as well, which is quite nice. He's also a pretty good defensive defenseman, which is kind of a need for this team. Adding in a guy who is pretty reliable defensively in his own zone would be a very nice fit. He's a very smart defensive player for the most part, and I would think would be a nice addition to this D-core. He also can kill penalties, which is a bonus. I mean, adding in a defenseman, being able to kill penalties would be quite nice. And he's got that big body as well. Very long stick there. Definitely can be a pretty good penalty killer, which would be a nice addition to this squad. The Rangers already have one of the best penalty kills in the entire NHL, but adding him alongside that definitely would probably make it even a bit better. Taking a look, though, he also does have quite a bit of playoff experience as well. We'll take a look at the stats later on, like I said, but a lot of playoff games played, a good amount of offensive production there as well for especially what he brings defensively and physicality-wise, so that's quite nice. He's had some nice long runs there, which is good to have that experience in the playoffs, which could provide obviously good to a team like the Rangers, who obviously have an end goal of potentially winning a Stanley Cup. And you also take a look there, kind of like I said there, he does have some decent offensive production for a guy who is that big physical defensive defenseman. He's not afraid to jump into the rush there, get a bit of offensive action in there. He's got a pretty good shot. He's an all right puck mover, not some elite kind of passer by any means, but pretty solid puck mover there. He's got a good shot. Pretty good slap shot there. Not the fastest guy in the world, but all right speed, especially for someone who is 6'6", 248 pounds. And now taking a look at the stats here this past season with the Vancouver Canucks and the Calgary Flames combined, he ended up having 75 games played, 6 goals, 14 assists for 20 total points. Not too bad there at all, averaging 17 minutes and 26 seconds per game. And also had 68 block shots there, almost 1 per game, and 177 hits, so over 2 per game. Overall, a very physical and tough player. Definitely is not afraid to block a shot, take a hit there, lay the body a bit there, battle in the corners, be a very tough and physical player. He also can fight as well, like I said, which is definitely a nice addition. And overall, offensively, I think does provide a pretty nice little boost there. He scores a decent amount of goals there for a more defensive defenseman, so that is quite nice there. And you take a look at what he did back in 2022, 2023. He ended up having with the Calgary Flames 82 games played, 14 goals, and 7 assists for 21 total points, 75 block shots, 174 hits, but 14 goals as a defenseman. I don't think you can expect, double-digit goals every season, but that is a possibility with a guy like Nikita Zadorov, with his offensive talent, with his shot. Like I said, he's got a pretty good shot there. He can have a pretty good overall kind of, goal scoring ability there for a big defensive defenseman, which is definitely a nice plus there. Like I said, don't expect that if we do sign him, but I do think that definitely is a possibility where you could see him get, 8, 9, 10 goals for defensive defenseman, which is not too bad at all. Now taking a look here at what he's done in the playoffs this past season with the Vancouver Canucks, ended up having 13 games played, 4 goals, 4 assists for 8 total points. Not too bad there at all, averaging just over 20 minutes per game as well. He eats up a lot of ice time, can be that kind of second pairing kind of guy. I think would be a great fit on this team. He also had 18 block shots there, 45 hits in 13 games played is not too bad at all. And overall in his entire playoff career in the NHL, has 58 games played, 8 goals, 11 assists, 19 total points, averaging 18 minutes and 13 seconds per night. 84 block shots there, 215 hits. He's got well over a block per game and almost 4 hits per game as well in the playoffs, which is not too bad at all. He's a very good playoff performer. And now taking a look here at what Nikita's contract that just ended was, as well as take a look at what his next contract could possibly be if he does sign with the Rangers. Now, starting off with his former contract, it was a 2-year deal that he signed back in 2022 with a cap hit per season of $3.75 million. I think that was a pretty fair deal for what he brings. And I do think that obviously going forward, he's going to get a bit of a pay raise. Nothing insane, but it's definitely going to be a decent sized little pay raise there. And now taking a look at what my prediction is, if he were to sign with the Rangers, it would have to be something around a 5-year deal with a $5 million cap hit. Now, maybe they go to 6 years to bring that cap hit down to like 4.5, 4.75 possibly. But if it is a 5-year deal, it's probably going to be something around a $5 million cap hit. He is 29 there, so if it were to be a 6-year deal, I would not be too upset with that, especially if it does lower the cap hit to, like I said, like 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. It would not be too bad of a deal. But I think there are going to be teams out there that possibly are going to offer him 6 years at $6 million per season, or 6 years at like 5.75 or 5.8, something like that, because there are obviously other teams like Utah, for example, who have a lot more cap space, who might want a guy like this on their team as they are trying to get better and obviously get into more of a playoff contention mode. So that kind of depends. I think there are going to be teams that are going to offer him a lot more than what the Rangers can obviously offer him and give to him. But I do think that if he wants to come to a contender, this is about what the deal is going to be for Nikita. And most other contending teams also are not going to have an abundance of cap space available to give a guy like Nikita a massive contract. So if he wants to join a contending team, he very well might have to take a slight little pay cut there. Like I said, something around a 5-year deal with a $5 million cap. But anyways, though, thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please smash the like button. It helps the channel a ton. I would really appreciate it. If you are a Rangers fan, don't forget to subscribe for daily New York Rangers content as you post every single day. And also forget to comment down below your thoughts on Nikita and what his next contract could possibly be. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next one. See ya.